Good morning, students. I welcome you all to the next video session. In this session, we are going to discuss some important questions from the lesson called Federalism. Last week itself, I had sent that video link. I hope you people must have watched that. Okay, let us begin the questions. First question is describe the language policy of India. Okay, what kind of language pattern that has been adopted in India since the independence? Okay, first point, the Constitution of India does not recognize any language as the national language. But Hindi was identified as a official language, but the central government is not imposing Hindi on the states where people are not speaking Hindi. Okay. Beside Hindi, there are 21 other languages which have been recognized as a scheduled languages by the Constitution of India. Okay. And most of the states have their own official language which are used in the offices. Like for an example, if you take Tamil Nadu for an example, obviously you know Tamil has been recognized as the official language as far as the Tamil Nadu state is concerned. Likewise, each and every states of the nation has recognized vernacular language of the particular state as their official language. Okay. Since the independence, Indian leaders have adopted a very cautious attitude in spreading the use of Hindi. The statement is telling that even the national leaders had cautions to spread the Hindi. Okay, because most of the people did not like Hindi. Nowadays, the picture has been completely changed. But still, take for an example, Tamil Nadu as a state has recognized only two languages, that is Tamil and English. Right. So in Tamil Nadu, there is no space for Hindi, especially in the government offices. Okay, right. And the next one is according to the Constitution. According to the Constitution, the use of English for official purpose was to stop in 1965. That was not liked by the many of the states. Okay. So obviously what those states did is they have adopted English as their one more official language. So the central government responded by agreeing to continue the use of English along with the Hindi as the official language. Okay. So in this question, you have to understand first, as far as the Constitution of India is concerned, it does not give the status of national language to any language. Okay. Second, Hindi was identified as the official language, but it does not impose on the states where people are not speaking Hindi. And the third point here is Constitution of India have recognized 22 language that has been scheduled in the Constitution. So in India, totally 22 languages have been recognized as the official languages. And then most of the states are using vernacular language as their official language. And finally, English has been adopted as a one more official language, especially the states which are not speaking Hindi. Okay. So government of India has also responded well in terms of accepting English as a one more official language in the nation. Okay, so these are all the basic points that you have to understand clearly whenever you are thinking about the language policy of India. So, when it comes to the language policy of India, it is highly connected, it's deeply connected with the feeling of the people, especially it is deeply connected with the sentiments of the various people, sentiments of the nationalist, sentiments of the general public. So in 1965, since the 1965, whatever the arrangement that we discussed in this question, that has been completely accepted by all the Indians. Okay, as far as the Indian constitution is concerned, 22 languages have been recognized as the scheduled languages in the country. Okay, this has to be understand clearly. Okay, next. What major steps that were taken in the 1992 towards the decentralization? So what happened in the year of 1992? In the year of 1992, Government of India has passed two amendments, that is 73rd and 74th Amendment of the Indian Constitution, which ensured the maximum power to the local bodies. So what they thought, if the local bodies are going to be give enormous power, obviously the country will be strengthened. So this was a thought that the leaders of the India had in those days. So what happened when the 1992 decentralization was adopted? So first point that it is very much needed, constitutional mandatory to hold the election for the local bodies. Okay, right. Second, states are reserved in elected bodies. States should reserve some seats, especially the executive heads of the institution. For whom? For people like SC, people like ST, and some other backward classes. Okay, so that SCP, so that economically, socially backward people can become a part of the local body, so that their grievances could be rectified. And then one more important point here we have to understand is 1/3 of the seats are being reserved for the women in the local bodies. 1/3 of the seats are being reserved for the women in the local bodies. Okay. And then in order to ensure the independent function of the local bodies, so there is a concept called the State Election Commission, which was set up to conduct the panchayat and the municipal election. So one thing you have to understand, what do you mean by local bodies? So when we talk about India, we have three hierarchical government, like union government, which is known as central government, and then each and every state has one government, that is state government, and then inside the state government there are local bodies like municipal corporation, municipalities, town panchayat, village panchayat. Likewise, the local bodies have been categorized, right? So the state government are required to share some powers and revenue with the local bodies. So whatever the local bodies that I have mentioned, like municipality, first level is municipal corporation, and then municipality, and then town panchayat. When we comes to rural background, like Jilla Parishad, that is district panchayat, panchayat samiti, and village panchayat. Okay. So according to the 1992 Decentralization Act, that is 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, the state government should share some powers and revenue with the local government bodies to ensure their independent function. To ensure their independent function. So these are all the main points that you have to understand from this question. Okay. So when we talk about the 1992 decentralization, first thing you have to write in the question paper when it's going to be a question of for the exam, you have to mention the 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment of the 1992. That is one among the key point. Okay. So the 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment of 1992, which ensured the autonomous function of the local bodies, which ensured the decentralization concept. The power was shared between the state and the local bodies. Okay. So leaders are very cautious on this issue. Okay. Next, critically examine the concept of decentralization in India. Okay. In last question we discussed about the centralization. We discussed about the decentralization of power in India through the 73rd and 74th Constitution Amendment of the 1992. Okay. So the need of decentralization is very much recognized in Indian Constitution, and various attempts have been made to decentralize power to village and towns. And panchayat in villages and municipalities in towns have been set up in all the states of the country. That's what I mentioned in the last question, right? So local bodies can be classified into two, namely urban local body, rural local body. Urban local body can be classified into three, namely municipal corporation, municipalities and town panchayat. And then whereas the rural local bodies can be classified into three, namely Jilla Parishad, Panchayat Samiti and Village Panchayat. Okay. This you have to understand clearly, right? So what are the critics? Though the country has recognized the power of decentralization, but it is not very much applied in the all the states. It is not very much applied in the all the state means it is not effective. Though it has been recognized, though it has given constitutional power, but it is not very much applied in all the states. And the local bodies are directly under the control of the government, obviously, because it does not have its own source to be spent on the various matters, so it has to be fully absolutely dependent to the state government. So obviously you can find the what do you call the upper hand, the predominance of the state government over the local bodies. And then third is the election to these local bodies are not held regularly. Say for an example, recently we had the local bodies election in Tamil Nadu, right? Actually it has to be conducted in the year of 2016-17, but actually it was held only in the year of 2019-20. So you can understand this point practically when you think about the local bodies condition in Tamil Nadu. Obviously you can understand how the local bodies are not regular in terms of conducting the election, right? So actually the election should have been conducted in 2016-17, but it was completely postponed to 4 years. So you have to think about what would be the situation of those local bodies, how when where the people should go in order to rectify their problem, right? It has to be considered very seriously, right? And the next is local government do not have any power, as I already mentioned, right? It does not have any power, it does not have any resources to spend on their own, or especially the like agriculture and commerce. So when these local bodies have become a absolute dependent to the state government, either to the state government or to the central government, then what would be the real condition of those local bodies functions, right? the people belongs to state government, the peoples belong to central government, obviously try to dominate the functions of the local bodies. So that's all the this is how the goodness has been decreased, right? For what reason national leaders had given so much importance for the decentralization power? Whether these concepts have been really worked out, it's up to you. You have to think, you have to analyze. You have to analyze and come to the conclusion. How far the decentralization concepts has been a successful strategy as far as the nation development is concerned, as far as the local bodies autonomous powers are concerned, right? So you have to analyze whenever you are study about the politics, you have to analyze, right? Okay, next, finally we are moving to the explain how the power is shared among the different organs of the government. Okay, so there are as I mentioned earlier, there are three hierarchical setup, right? At central government, at national level union government is there, at the state level each and every state has its own state government, and apart from these two concepts there is a third concept that is called local bodies. Okay, likewise when it comes to the organs of the government like legislature, executive, judiciary, here we are going to discuss about the three list. First one union list. Okay, so subjects of the national importance like defense, foreign affairs, atomic energy, banking, post and telegraph are included in the union list. Only the central government can pass the laws on the subjects mentioned in the union list, because there should be a uniform policy on important or national issue, so that union government has taken care of all these subjects. So totally in union, the union list has 97 subjects. Okay, next we are going to discuss about the state list. It comprises the important subjects like police, local government, trade and commerce, agriculture. So these are the important subjects which falls under the control of the state government. On these matters only the state government can make laws. So totally the state list has 66 subjects. Okay, next the concurrent list. So the concurrent list comprises the subjects which are common concern both to the center and the state government. That means both the center and the state government can frame the laws on these subjects. Okay. However, if there is any conflict between the laws which are being made by either state government or the central government, obviously the central law will prevail. Central law would be the more effective than the state laws. So the concurrent list has totally 47 subjects. So when you talk about the concurrent list itself shows, as far as India is concerned, how much power that lies in the hands of the union government. So if there is any contradictory in the laws made by this government, obviously the central government law will be prevailing as a superior one. Okay, so obviously the maximum power, supreme power lies only with the hands of the union government. Okay, and finally the fourth point is residuary powers. Matters which are not being included in the division of powers, which are known as residuary power. Okay, the matters which are not included in the division of powers are known as residuary powers. It was felt that there can be subjects which are not mentioned in either of these lists. So the central government has been given the power to legislate on the residuary subject. Here too, you could understand how much power that has been given to the central government. So residuary power means what? matters which are not being included in the division of power, especially the subjects which are not being taken place either of these list, either of these three lists. So obviously on all these subjects the central government will make all the laws. So here too, obviously whenever you are going, right, you could clearly understand, as far as the India is concerned, union government, central government is more powerful than any other state government. So maximum powers are lies in the hands of, maximum powers or lie in the hands of central government. Okay, so after analyzing all this aspect, you could understand how, though the power is being shared among the three different lists between the central and state, but finally central government will be the deciding factor. Okay, right. So with this, today we discussed more or less exactly four questions, right? We discussed exactly four questions. So dear students, whenever you are studying the politics, especially the democratic politics, you have to give so much of importance to the current affairs. So simultaneously you have to refer the newspaper. So newspaper reading should be a constant habit of you. Then only you can realize how the world is keep on changing, what is happening around you. That is very much important, right? So keep reading, study well. I hope you people are understanding the social science on the daily basis, day by day. So if you have any doubts on the concepts, please don't hesitate to ask. Anytime you can ask and clarify your doubts. Okay. So dear students, please go through these questions clearly and write one time. Thank you students. Have a nice day.